Well, let me make 3 points. First, with regard to the budget resolution, I don't expect that the conference is going to take that long. But let me just say, I think that the easy part of this decision-making process is over. And as we said yesterday, when it comes to the very difficult choices on Medicare in particular, I think the Congress and the American people are going to more ably appreciate just how consequential the proposal now is with regard to the cuts. We're going to know how much of a premium increase, how much of a benefit cut, how much of a reduction in payments to states all this entails in the not-too-distant future. So the pain is about to be felt. And when it comes to Medicare in particular, when it comes to education, when it comes to taxes on working families, those areas that we've expressed a great deal of concern about during this resolution, that impact is going to be felt a lot more consequentially in the not-too-distant future. So we're hopeful that they realize that this budget isn't going anywhere unless we can make some accommodation to the concerns we raise. President Clinton is not going to support it. Democrats, by and large, as you saw with the vote yesterday, are not going to support it. And I suspect that before the final decision is made with regard to some of these cuts, it's going to require a lot more consultation with Democrats than you saw during this debate. We also are watching with some interest the Foster vote this morning. I am disappointed that Senator Kassebaum has now chosen not to support Dr. Foster, but I also fully expect that the committee will encourage a vote on the Senate floor. And when that happens, I'm optimistic that there are sufficient votes to confirm Dr. Foster. I'm hopeful that even though they may not be supportive of Dr. Foster's confirmation, an adequate number of Republicans will join us in ensuring that we at least have the opportunity to vote. That's all we ask. He deserves that much. Whether you agree or disagree with his nomination, the President has every right to expect a vote on his confirmation, and I would hope it would be very soon. Senator Dole has indicated that it won't be, that he will be meeting with Dr. Foster at some point, and I would hope shortly after that we could get the confirmation. With regard to welfare, let me say that it is likely, we're told, that the committee will finish its work on welfare today. I'm going to be watching with some interest because they really haven't had much of an opportunity to consider amendments and to move in a very deliberative process. But we anticipate that the Packwood proposal will pass, and when it does, I think it's fair to say that Democrats are going to be united in proposing an alternative that we think is superior to what Senator Packwood is proposing. We want welfare, the responsibilities of the federal government to be something more than just an ATM machine for the states. We've got to find a partnership here that recognizes federal responsibility in working with the states. Senator Packwood's bill is an improvement over the House, but I must say it falls far short of what it is we need to do if we're going to create the kind of new system that both the President and many Republicans in Congress say they want. We want to end welfare as we know it, but we also recognize that there is a need for the infrastructure that we've created over the years to help families and to do the things necessary to ensure that that welfare can be more than just a check to families who need assistance. We want to make work pay. We want to protect families and children, and that will be our objective. We intend to propose a comprehensive Democratic consensus bill sometime shortly after we get back. We'll be talking to you more about just what that bill will look like when we get back. But it's the product of a good deal of work within our caucus, and I must say I think enjoys very broad-based support among our colleagues. It will include a conditional entitlement. It will include a new infrastructure to assist families in finding work and in creating the job skills necessary to be more competitive in the workplace. But it also recognizes that if families are going to be more work-oriented, that we have to ensure that they have the health care and child care needs addressed in a more meaningful way than what we see today. So it's a mutual responsibility effort, a responsibility on the part of the federal government to ensure that the infrastructure is there, a responsibility on the part of the states to ensure that we administer a program that provides the necessary support for families, and responsibility on the part of the families themselves to take more of an effort and initiative to go out and find the jobs and to create the kind of work incentives that have to be accomplished if we're going to make welfare something other than what it is today. So we'll see what happens today, but I expect that we will be introducing that alternative as soon as we come back. With that, let me take the question.
Have you talked to Senator Dole about this Foster nomination in such a way as to know whether there's a serious threat about it coming to the floor? Has Dole said it depends on the meeting he has? Have you had a conversation so that you know whether it's going to come to the floor or not, whether he's going to bring it?
We haven't discussed Dr. Foster now in some time, but I would say that it's my clear understanding that Senator Dole intends to consider taking the Foster nomination to the floor, subject to a meeting with Dr. Foster, and I expect that that'll come sometime after Memorial Day. I think what Senator Dole wanted to do was to determine first what kind of support there was in committee. He'll know that today, and following that, I expect he'll make a decision about taking to the floor. There is, I think it's fair to say on our side that we want to give Senator Dole an opportunity to make that scheduling decision without unduly politicizing this process. We think that Senator Dole and Senator Cassabaugh both are fair-minded people and will give Dr. Foster an opportunity to have his day in court, to have his day on the Senate floor. And I fully expect that it will come sometime in June.
Senator Daschle, the Senate elected Packwood as chairman of the Finance Committee in January on a resolution. Do you think he should step down temporarily until this equivalent of an indictment is resolved?
I think any comments relating to Senator Packwood would be inappropriate at this time. The Senate Ethics Committee is making its decisions with regard to his current situation, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment until after they've concluded their work.
Before the negotiation goes on with the White House administration over the legislative implementation of a budget, Republicans have to agree amongst themselves on what that budget outline will be. The House and Senate numbers and language very different. How do you think it might come out? Do you care to speculate at all, particularly in the area of tax cuts, where you think a final budget resolution?
If I had to guess, I would say that the tax cut will be much closer to the House than it will be to the Senate. I think the Senate left the door open for a much more consequential tax cut. And if I had to guess, I don't think a budget resolution can pass in the House without a sizable tax cut included in it. So this is just the opening round. But if I had to guess, it would be hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of the next 7 years, in a package that, as we've said all along, favors the wealthy at the expense of the rest. And we'll see just how close I am to that prediction sometime in the not-too-distant future.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, you're assuming then that the conference report would pass the Senate, and if Senate Republicans were willing to accept a sizable tax cut in the conference report, why do you think they weren't willing to accept it on the floor before going to conference?
Well, as you know, there were votes in favor of a tax cut. It's just a question of size. But I think once the conference comes back, once these Republicans have been able to make their compromise among themselves, I doubt very much that you're going to see anything less than what the Senate has done, and it's probably going to be significantly more.
Do you have a feel for whether the three Democrats that voted in favor of the budget last night will stay in favor of it if it has looks more like the House with the big tax cut?
I would be very surprised if they did. I've talked to all three of them, and they've expressed the same reservations and concerns that we have as a caucus with regard to the magnitude of the cut and whether it makes much sense to do it at this time. So I would suspect that it's going to be very difficult to continue to count on their support if that tax cut increases. I think it's likely that they and some Republicans will probably oppose it. The question is, will they have sufficient votes? And my guess is they probably will.
Senator Daschle, have you ever seen a session of the Senate that was this partisan, this early? It strikes me coming back after 4 months without last 2 weeks before an election.
Well, I think you find the budget debate to be one of the most partisan and contentious of any of the debates we have, and I expect that that's true over the years. You know, there have been a number of bipartisan agreements. We passed unanimously a $16 billion rescissions package, and I'm still convinced that ultimately we'll pass a rescissions package that will enjoy presidential support. We passed line item veto. We passed the reg reform that includes the legislative veto. We passed congressional coverage, unfunded mandates, child pornography prohibitions, a range of legislation that, in my view, oftentimes is overlooked as you look at some of the more contentious and partisan debates that we've had. So it's a balance. And I think good democracy, the noise of democracy, is balance. The noise of democracy ought to include agreement and disagreement. I don't think we ought to be apologetic about disagreement as long as it's done in a constructive way. Obviously, people feel very strongly about these issues, and I think that it's expected that when you deal with the magnitude of the problems and the policy questions that came on the floor over the last several days, I expect that kind of deeply held emotional fervor on some of these things. I mean, people are here for a reason. They believe deeply in what it is they stand for, and when you have opportunities like this to defend them or to fight them, I don't know that that's partisan as much as it is just an expression of the strength of feeling, the conviction that people have about fundamental issues affecting this country. So it's the noise of democracy, and I like it. I just think that there has to be appropriate balance, and I hope that there's appropriate balance in the reporting of the agreements and disagreements. My guess is that the disagreements get 2 or 3 times the coverage that the agreements get, and that's probably for good reason, but I think that gives people a skewed understanding of how much agreement during the course of a legislative session there really is.
As you look forward to the appropriations process, can you predict whether the bills that go forward will achieve what the Republicans, the outline of having a balanced budget by 2002, but not make also accommodate Democratic priorities when it comes to where the cuts should be? I mean, in other words, can you design appropriation bills that can achieve the balanced budget and satisfy really the philosophies of the Democrats?
Well, we have more leverage on the appropriations process than we did under the budget process, and that leverage, I think, will give us more of an opportunity to be heard and to be part of the process. Obviously, during this budget and reconciliation process, you're limited in what options one has to assure maximum leverage. We don't have that problem in appropriations, so I would guess that we are going to be more a part of this process. I would say that I want to commend again our Democratic colleagues on the Appropriations Committee. I think that Senator Byrd and Senator Hatfield worked very closely together on a number of these things, did on the rescissions package, even though some of us weren't as satisfied as we'd like to have been about how it turned out. I don't think there's any doubt Senator Byrd is going to be heard and be consulted as we make these tough decisions.
Has the White House or anyone at the White House contacted you about plans if the Foster nomination doesn't go through?
No, they haven't. We still fully expect the Foster nomination to go through, and I expect that after today we'll know more about what the Senate schedule looks like with regard to his confirmation. I'll bet that sometime between now and the middle of June, we'll have a vote on the Senate floor. I'm just going to make that prediction. I have no reason to believe that Senator Dole will hold it up unnecessarily, and I look forward to the time when we can bring it to the floor. There's no reason why it shouldn't come to the floor, and being as fair-minded as he is, I believe that he'll give Dr. Foster that opportunity. And on that positive note, let me wish you all a happy Memorial Day, and we'll see you when we get back. Thank you. There is.
Can't do it if he doesn't bring it. Now, the senator puts a hold on it, so.
We could. The only thing we could do is a sense of the Senate amendment on another bill that Dr. Foster. That's right. We could do something of that kind, but we don't intend to do that at this point.
Couldn't you move the floor, move to take it up?
Well, I could move to take it up, but I don't think that that's.
Exactly what it's about.
Yeah, but the majority leader is the one who controls the schedule, and so moving to take it up could be I think rejected just on the basis of Republicans saying, well, he doesn't have that authority. But yeah, we could find a way, and we may have to do that. At this point, we're not inclined to do anything like that because we don't think it's necessary. That's right.